I call to order the Lynchburg Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. The first order of business is the approval of the March 22nd, 2023 minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes?
I move to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. The next order of business is the following new business where we will, and this is going to be fun to read this, petition of Central Health, Inc., Central Health Foundation, Inc., and General Business Concerns, Inc., to rezone the following properties, approximately 100 acres, to IN-2, Institutional 2 District, to allow the institution and its accessory uses to be permitted by right. 1901 Tate Springs Road, which is currently B1 Limited Business District. 1815 Thomas Drive, which is currently B1 Limited Business District. 1901 Thomas Drive, currently B1 Limited Business District. 1701 Thomas Drive, currently B3 Community Business District. 2010 Tate Springs Road, currently B3 Community Business District. 1715 Thompson Drive, currently B3 Community Business District. 2010 Atherholt Road, currently B3 Community Business District. 98 Morgan Street, currently B3 Community Business District. 50 Page Street, currently R3 Medium Density Residential District. 1920 Atherholt Road, currently B1 Limited Business District and R3 Medium Density Residential District. 1900 Tate Springs Road, currently B1 Limited Business District. 1800 Tate Springs Road, currently B1 Limited Business District. 1906 Thompson Drive, currently B1 Limited Business District. 1911 Thompson Drive, currently B1 Limited Business District. 2310 Langard Road, currently B3 Community Business District. 2301 Langard Road, currently B1 Limited Business District. 2125 Langhorne Road, currently R4 High Density Residential District. 100 Morgan Street, currently B1 Limited Business District. 17 Page Street, currently B3 Community Business District.
Thank you. Members of the Planning Commission. As the chair said, the purpose of this petition is to rezone a number of properties in the Langhorne and Tate Springs Road area to establish an IN2 Institutional 2 district for the Central Health Medical Campus, which would allow the expansion of the institution and its accessory uses by right.
Rachel, if I just interrupt real quick.
Sure.
I've been advised of a conflict of interest since my wife works for Centra.
Okay.
So to avoid any improprieties, I'm going to recuse myself from this petition.
Okay.
And I'll be doing the same.
Okay.
We checked.
All right. We still have 4.
Congratulations.
I'm sorry.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Should be easy.
So the subject properties include 19 tracts totaling approximately 100 acres. The properties are used by Centra Health, Inc., including Lynchburg General Hospital, the Allen B. Pearson Cancer Center, the Dawson Inn, and additional properties with uses that support Centra, including, for example, office space, information technology facilities, parking, etc. 2 of the properties, 50 Page Street and 1800 Tate Springs Road, are currently vacant. If the rezoning is approved, the property would continue to be used for institutional purposes and would allow for the expansion without the need for additional conditional use permit approvals, which is the process in these districts that Centra has now. Specifically, the submitted concept plan shows a future 5-story addition on the existing hospital building at 1901 Tate Springs Road. You can see it on the map in the red dashed line. This would contain a new emergency department on the first level and additional medical space above. The plan also shows a new facility at 2125 Laren Road, which would be constructed for a specialty physician offices and outpatient services. A traffic study was submitted due to that proposed facility, which is located on the former Holy Cross school site. At the time when the Planning Commission report was written, the city's engineering division had reviewed and requested this study be updated to show a reconfiguration of the western intersection to allow more space for vehicle queuing for left turn movements between the two intersections of Langern Road and Tate Springs Road. As you can see on the slide, they are both called Tate Springs Road and Langern Road each, but there are two traffic lights here, and the concern is that the red highlighted space may not allow enough room for stacking of cars as they wait for a left turn signal to make that left-hand turn movement. Since the Planning Commission report was posted, we met with Centra and Engineering earlier this week, and as a result of those meetings, Centra has submitted a proffer which should address the concern regarding the spacing between the traffic signals. In summary, the IN2 district was created to facilitate the expansion of larger institutions like hospitals, school campuses, larger churches, et cetera, primarily in commercial areas to expand without the need for conditional use permit approvals. The zoning ordinance states that these districts will provide flexibility for the institutions while creating development standards to minimize off-site impacts such as noise, lighting, traffic, and capacity of water and sewer infrastructure associated with the development. If approved, uses related to the medical campus would be allowed to expand by right, and other commercial uses typically allowed in our B5 general business district would also be included in that I2 list of permitted uses. Approval of the petition would create the city's second IN2 district. The first was established with the Liberty University campus in 2016. And while there is potential for future traffic impacts, since IN2 allows for more uses and the expansion of existing uses by right, however, traffic will still continue to be evaluated and studied through our site plan review process as the campus continues to develop. So the Planning Commission recommends approval of the rezoning petition with the submitted proffer. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Who is here to speak on behalf of this petition? If you could sign in for us, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Hank Creasy. I'm a lawyer with Woods Rogers, Van Deventer and Black. Staff has done a fantastic job of summarizing the petition. I am here representing Centra Health. We have Roger Bradley, who's the Vice President of Facilities Construction and Management, Marshall Womack, who's Project Manager for Centra. We have Bill Winch, who's handled the traffic study for Centra, and Patrick Profit and his partner there with Hurton Profit, who's handling site plan work. And I just would like to thank the Planning Commission for taking a look at this project, which involves quite a number of parcels. There are 19 total parcels, as staff has pointed out in its summary, that would be affected by this rezoning petition. All of these parcels are either owned by Centra or one of its affiliates, with the exception of parcel 15. And when I give a number to a parcel, I'm just referring to this Exhibit A, which is a parcel map. I don't know, Rachel, if we have a copy of that handy. Yeah. On this map, parcel 15 is a parcel that Centra does not currently own, but is under contract, and that's the former Holy Cross site. And that is the parcel with respect to which the traffic study was performed that was mentioned in staff's comments. You may be aware of Centra's modernization plan. Centra is engaged in improvements to various locations of the health system, in particular in the Midtown area, the Medical Arts District, where Lynchburg General Hospital is located, where the Cancer Center, L&B Pearson Regional Cancer Center is located, the Dawson Inn, and a variety of other uses on these parcels. Shown on the parcel map, the first parcel is the largest about 30 acres, which covers Lynchburg General Hospital campus proper. And across the street is parcel 4, which is where the cancer center is located. In my narrative, I think I referred to 17 parcels, and that is because after this petition, Centra anticipates seeking to eliminate the lot lines of what are shown as parcels 4A and 4B, the small parcels there at the corner of Thompson Drive and Tate Springs. We'd like to emphasize that the new medical office building is important to Centra's modernization plan, as it will be a new facility that will allow many uses that currently exist on a Centra campus to be moved to new facilities rather than necessarily a lot of new services. That, we think, is important because it affects the traffic study, and so Centra has committed in this proffer to further study the traffic at this intersection. And we believe one of the data points that needs to be considered is the fact that some of the trips that already come to the Centra campus will be just rerouted to this new medical office building location. So we think that might have an impact on the traffic study, but until that further study is performed, we cannot confirm that. But once that study is performed, Centra has agreed in its proffer that the site plan approval for that medical office building would be conditioned on the city and Centra agreeing on what improvements, if any, would be required, and Centra's contribution to the cost of those improvements. The IN2 district was established over 10 years ago. Centra participated in some of the stakeholder meetings that this planning commission had and city staff had before City Council adopted institutional zoning 2. As staff commented, this would be the second institutional zoning district 2 adopted by the city for an institution. We think Centra is a perfect candidate for institutional zoning 2. It has a large campus. This campus is located in the medical arts district, largely around mixed uses, commercial uses. And as we pointed out in our narrative, Centra has a number of parcels that are not slated to be rezoned. In particular, parcels that are just north of the LGH campus near Overbrook and Hillsdale, which are a residential area near the campus. Centra does own a number of lots in that neighborhood and had considered potentially some parking improvements there. Had several meetings with neighbors. There were some objections to that, and Centra revised its plans, and part of the need for a medical office building at parcel 15 at the former Holy Cross site is so that the existing Tate Springs medical office facilities, which are, I believe, parcel 9 shown on the map, could be used for parking. So that is slated to have some new surface parking. Centra would like to stay away from a parking deck. Parking decks are very expensive. They're not very attractive. They're not consistent with Centra's view towards how its campus will look and interact with its patients, its staff, and members of the community. This institutional zoning will allow for the flexibility that staff described. There would still need to be a site plan approval process, although institutional 2 zoning does allow for a few exemptions to site plan approvals, but by and large, those approval processes would be in place. Erosion and soil control issues would have to be addressed, building permits, stormwater, all of that would still continue, but the typical conditional use process that Centra has gone through to develop its property would not be required. On the exhibit, there is an outline in red that shows a general location of where the new northeast tower would be located on parcel 1. So for these reasons, we believe that institutional zoning 2 is an appropriate rezoning for these parcels. We think it will give Centra the flexibility it needs to further develop this campus. Comprehensive plan considers Centra to be an economic engine for Lynchburg, a very important part of Midtown, and we believe that this change will enable that very important modernization plan to take shape. And with that, we'll be glad to answer any questions you have. I may need to rely on some experts if you have technical questions.
Thank you, Hank. We might be calling you back up here shortly.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the petition?
I'm not for or against, I'm a homeowner at 118 Morgan Street.
So please come up if you wouldn't mind and go ahead and sign in and just introduce yourself, and we'd
My
love to
name's
hear
Bruce
from
Everhart.
you. I'm sorry, your name again?
Bruce Everhart. And my son and I own 118 Morgan Street. And I just got this in the mail, but I'm not really against or anything that Centra wants to do there. My question is what, because near me is 98 Morgan Street and 100 Morgan Street, and then right behind us is 50 Page Street, which I think 50 Page Street's almost 4 acres or something. And what are they going to do? That's my question, is what's being planned for 98 and for 100 and for 50 Page Street? And I think 17, maybe there's one other piece back there. But anyway, it's very close to us, and I just was wondering what they're going to build or what the future plan is for that. I haven't been able to see anything, so I don't know if I missed out on something or not. But if somebody could just tell us, that'd be nice.
Okay, we definitely will
Okay.
get them
All right,
to
thank you.
answer that question. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here to speak in opposition to the petition? Would the presenters like to come back up and maybe answer his question?
So, you have the parcel map here. You can see parcel 7, which is owned by Centra Health Foundation. That's the large parcel there. In front of that is parcel 8, which I believe was the former Centra headquarters administrative facility, which has parking behind it. I do not believe Centra has any planned improvements for parcel 7, but those parcels would likely be considered for parking areas if needed in the future. But I don't believe Centra has any current plans. And then across the street from parcel 7, behind item 5, parcel 5 is the CFI building. It houses medical records and other administrative uses. Behind parcel 5 is parcel 6, which is part of the parking for parcel 5, and then parcel 16, which has parking on it now. I think it has 27,000 square feet of paving. But I believe that parcel 7 is would be the main, it's the main area that is not currently developed. There's also a tiny little parcel 17, which is 17 Page Street, which is really part of the CFI building, I believe. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the man that came up? Or you did?
Is he saying everything that I talked about is going to be parking? 'Cause I don't have a map saying, I didn't see the parcel. That's basically what Page Street.
It sounded like it was going to be parking. Is that correct, Hank?
Well, I mean, this is, there are no current plans for any development.
Can you come back, up? Thank you.
There are no current plans for any development on parcel 7, but the most likely future development of parcel 7 would be for parking. So,
And that's the larger, you said 4
That's-
acres at 50 Page Street?
yes. So that's the, it's shown in tree line right now on the Exhibit A there. That's parcel 7. And parcel 8 is what it's an administrative building, and it's IT for Centra today, and there is current parking behind parcel 8. And then that large parcel, which is owned by the foundation, could be used for parking in the future, but there are no current plans for development of that parcel.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, at this point, the public hearing is closed. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff or for the petitioner?
Just to follow up real quick on that one, if, my understanding is if those, just stay with your example, Mr. Creasy, if it went to parking, that would be something that would come through the planning commission, is that correct, Tom?
It would be by right if that parcel is rezoned. It would still have to go through our site plan process, but there wouldn't be,
Not through us.
approval granted from a
Right.
body. It would just be, does it meet our zoning ordinance? And
But things like runoff and things like that would be addressed during the site plan process,
Yes.
right.
yeah.
Rachel, can you again explain IN2 as far as, like, Mr. Creasy, it told us, what you can kind of get, but like, what do you not have to come forward to ask for? Like, tell me the differences between the CUP and the IN2, just to be clear, because it is giving a big green light to, I think, and I just want everybody to be clear as to exactly what that could mean.
Right, so the IN2 district is intentionally flexible. It was designed to be that way. The only things that you're really not allowed to do by right are things like CUPs, arenas, stadiums, that sort of thing. I mean, that wouldn't be a Centra use, but that's something that came up when Liberty zoned to IN2, because they did eventually propose an arena, and they had to get a CUP on top of their IN2 zoning. There's also a traffic study required when you do those things, and a traffic study required when you do those things. I don't know where I was just going with that. Or when you connect to a new city street. Yes, when you propose one of those things, or you propose a new connection to a city street, you would have to do a traffic study.
So if, on, say, parcel 7, if they decided not to put parking there, but to put a 10-story building, they can do that if they want, right?
If it met our other ordinance requirements for height and setbacks and things like that.
So the Holy Cross property is under contract.
Correct.
Is it typical to change the zoning on a piece of property that is not, that you've got the possible future buyer, that has come forward changing the zoning, but of course, being in real estate, we all know things can go awry and not close. So what happens if the zoning gets voted through and it doesn't actually, the sale doesn't actually go through?
Well, so if council takes the action and rezones something, that sticks with the parcel regardless of ownership. And of course, I'm not privy to their agreement on, the future of the sale hinging upon the zoning decision. But yeah, zoning is permanent until someone else petitions, regardless of who owns it. petitions to change that zoning, it would stick with it.
Mr. Creasy, can I ask you to come back up, please? So as far as the contract goes and what you have, I'm sure it's contingent upon the successful zoning change.
Yes, the contract for this parcel is contingent on the rezoning, and the seller has given limited power of attorney to Centra to seek this rezoning. The seller did sign the original petition, but we relied on that power to propose the proffer. But yes, it's the contract is contingent on the rezoning to institutional zoning too.
Okay.
And I think to answer your first question, which does this happen, it's somewhat common to put a contingency on a real estate transaction for a decision, a land use decision like this.
Okay.
Point of curiosity, parcel 10, what is, there's really nothing there. There's a little bump out parking lot. You've got that whole section there marked off for something. What are you planning on doing with that?
Which parcel?
Parcel 10.
Back on Tasman Road.
They've got that little bump out dirt parking there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a ravine.
I think the image as it's depicted here, and if you look at parcel 10 on the parcel viewer through the city, it also shows the gravel parking lots right across from LGH. That's how it's currently used, but I think there's a desire to, further improve those for parking.
Fill it in.
Well, probably changing the gravel to improve paved parking.
But you wouldn't expand, because I think there's a pretty significant
That falls.
down,
Yeah.
down.
I don't
grade
think there are
from-
any plans to expand that. It's the contour of that property falls off steeply. It'd be very expensive to do any significant parking there because it would require a deck. Parking decks are very expensive, so I don't think that's in the plans.
Just, my only other question along that is I appreciate the traffic study that was done on Langham Road. And you may have addressed it with your parking thing there. I don't know how you figure out what you need for parking, but because there's so much on-street parking, I'm sorry about that, because there's so much on-street parking, it's fairly restrictive for those two neighborhoods. And in addition to the fact that you've got that intersection at Atherholt and Tate Springs Road, which emergency vehicles use, I would think that there'd be a need to have at least some kind of look there to make sure that we haven't created extra traffic that's going to make that more untenable. Does that make sense? Is that it all clear?
Yeah, I understand the point you're raising. The institutional zoning ordinance too doesn't require a traffic study because there's no change in a new entrance to a new city street. The other thing to keep in mind is that by moving the offices over to parcel 15, that should reduce traffic towards the LGH area and also enable more parking right across from LGH to support the hospital. That is a critical need of the hospital, is more parking, and the negotiations with the neighbors over a possible parking garage or surface parking lots, that was not satisfactory to them. So this is the alternative to get the hospital what it needs to have adequate parking in that area.
So is the assumption, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Let me just finish this one thing, and I'll leave them alone. Don't leave them alone. Somebody else can pick on. My understanding from what you just said is that the new building and what's current, or what used to be Holy Cross, will be supplemental to what we had. I thought I'd read in the proposal that was going to be for specialty and outpatient stuff that was not currently housed at or as part of the current campus.
Is that okay? Roger?
Yeah, please, just if you could sign in and say your name again, please. Thank you.
My name is Roger Bradley. I'm Vice President of Facilities. So truly, there might be some things that we're bringing in, but the majority will be taking facilities that are already on the campus and relocating them to the MLB and modernizing them. If you look at the buildings they're in today, they're not very adaptable for patient care. So it's truly moving them to the next building. What that does now, it allows us on number 9 to tear down that old medical office building that's there, that's one story. That creates 490 parking spots for us. And so our hope is to alleviate, we do want the vehicles off the street. And again, I think as the future goes, as becoming a campus, it also will allow us to patrol those areas in the future to make sure people are not parking on the street. So it will give us a little bit of enforcement as we move forward with, you know, how we take on the security for a campus rather than for a hospital.
Thank you, that's a big deal. I missed that in the proposal, so that's helpful to hear that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No, that's not good. Did you?
Just as a supplement to that, the lot 15 is the assumption that breaking that off from the campus proper is going to get rid of some of the foot traffic, because I know that intersection and there's a lot going on there. And I mean, if it was me and I'm looking for a place to park, I mean, I would assume there's going to be a lot of back and forth foot traffic going.
A lot of foot traffic, and we want to work with the Parks Department again too to also develop Blackwater Creek to actually try to make it more what we want to call a healthy environment, because we want it to be a commuter campus. So we do want to encourage more walking, but we want to do that in a safe fashion. So working with them to do some stuff as far as a fire pit where walkers can come up and actually sit on our campus and enjoy it, but also they can walk off into the development that's joining us, and just making it more of a healthy campus and start encouraging people to walk more.
That's really good to hear. I think one question that I had was some of the traffic, I guess the foot traffic I'm thinking of is back and forth between that building and General Hospital and some of the surrounding offices. And that's a very busy intersection.
Yes.
And I guess that would come up in the proffer.
Yeah, and I think part of that is if we do have foot traffic that walks from there, that's other than like, the campus type walking through the trail, we would probably look at, eventually, do we have to have any type of shuttle service?
Right.
As far as like we do now with PACE, we
Overhead,
have shuttle
something.
service. So do we need to do something to help people move back and forth? But
That's where I was going with it.
yeah. That limits the amount of vehicles, and it also, we're able to get 20 to 25 people on a bus to have people go back and forth.
But most of what's across the road is going to be self-contained, so hopefully the walking traffic, at least
It
coming
should
back
be
up,
at a
should be
minimum.
pretty small. hopefully.
Probably what you'll see are, physicians that do specialties during the day. If they have to go to the campus to do cases or surgeries, they'll be able to walk and go to the campus and park one place during the day. But it should help them care with the patients better, being that close and part of one central campus.
It's also worth noting that sidewalk network in this area is pretty good comparatively to a lot of areas of the city. They've also got signalized and marked crosswalks, so that would help if people are walking between the two ends of the campus.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
In IN2, if they, you said that whatever they do still has to go through the normal, prerequisites of the city as far as, does that include a traffic study?
The traffic engineering division may request a traffic study or at least a trip generation. Like for something like probably the new emergency wing, I would expect that may be a big generator. So yes, in instances where they meet the threshold for traffic study, they would be required to do that.
And then they would be required to correct whatever the traffic study? No?
That's actually not accurate. So the way the ordinance works is the only time a traffic study would be required after the property is rezoned to IN2 is what Rachel or Ms. Fresheisen mentioned earlier. A stadium, arena, or a new access to a city street. So like that one vacant parcel that I believe is on, is it Page Street? That was spoken of earlier. There's no access points to the street. So a traffic study would be required at that time. Yeah. So I think if you back up to about 10, 11 years ago when this was first put in place, we worked with all the institutions. And what we were told at that time, and I think it still holds true because, you know, you're asking questions like, well, what do you plan to put on this parcel? And they're not really sure yet. They might have an idea, but it's not definitive, and that's because, at least what they said 10 years ago, is anything beyond 3 to 4 years is purely speculative for them in terms of funding and so on and so forth. So I think the importance of the IN2 district is they're saying, city, this is our campus. So what I would be more concerned with, or what I think is more important, is what parcels are they not including, right? Because that's saying, you know, we're not planning on expanding on these parcels at any time soon. And I believe the ones that are further out into the neighborhoods, you know, they listened to both the city and the residents in that area, and they said, you know, okay, we're not going to expand there right now. But the point behind the institutional district is it was becoming very cumbersome for the institutions to have to come back to Planning Commission and Council every time they needed to do an expansion. You know, they do a master plan, well, it changes. Well, so it went on the master plan, they'd have to come back. And we had institutions that literally had 20, 30 CUPs. And the thought is that, you know, the city values us institutions and we support them. We just want to make sure that the impacts associated with them are addressed, and what you do on your campus really affects you. When it comes out into the street and adjacent to residential areas, then it affects the greater city, and the rest of our zoning ordinance takes care of that. I will say that the IN2 district at Liberty has worked very well. You know, they've gone through a lot of expansions since then, and there's really been no issues with it. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I know it's a relative question, but if the experience with Liberty University had been all positive, and if anything had come up or any issue that maybe you didn't foresee.
It's really worked very well over there.
Good.
Well, I appreciate that too, because I think that clarifies a lot. Because I know personally, most of my questions have been trying to wrap my mind around something like this that's a little bit more scattered than some of the institutional stuff that proposals that we've looked at. And I think your point about again, what did they not include is a huge one. But I also think you've got a couple of neighborhoods there. You've got Blackwater Creek coming right up on, and a lot of what you guys have planned is going to be putting in more, more impervious surface, period. And so it helps me to go through these questions to sort of understand that still going through the planning process, it still allows a lot of protection for those neighborhoods and for those areas. And I think you've shown yourself to be a good citizen. I definitely think that's something to be applauded, because that's not something we see every day. So hopefully between the two, I feel pretty good about proceeding with this plan.
Nancy, you have any other questions? Comments? Okay. Sorry? Somebody needs to make a motion. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the petition as submitted.
Along with the added proffer, because that was not part of the original petition.
Yes.
Along with the added proffer, with the traffic change. Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Good luck at city council. And I guess that's it. Is there any other new business or old business?
Members of Planning Commission, we will be contacting you in the near future about scheduling a joint work session with the Economic Development Authority to kick off our comprehensive plan process. So that'll be coming up, and we'll try and work that out with your schedules. But we're looking forward to getting that process started.
Great. All right, I guess we have our next meeting. Do we have something on the calendar, Anna, for our next meeting? Okay, all right, great. No meeting April 26th. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.